Can the anti-Road Warriors repeat as champions? We'll talk about what's changed for Steph Curry and crew coming up. Welcome into the Locked On NBA playoff preview. I'm Nick Angstead of Locked On NBA. I'm joined by Cyrus Satzes of Locked On Warriors to give you everything you need to know about the Golden State Warriors going into the postseason. Cyrus, there's been a lot of off-the-court talk with the Warriors this year. You have to go back to the other player that punched another teammate at the beginning of the season, Draymond Green. But what's the biggest on-court story for the Warriors this year, just in the basketball sense?
Yeah, Draymond Green is definitely a trendsetter. I think two things. One is the road woes. The Golden State Warriors have been an absolutely awful road team this year. I haven't checked the records lately, but going into the last week or so, they were on pace to have the worst road record in the history of the NBA for a defending world champion, but they did win 4 of the last 5. So I need to revisit that stat. So poor road record is one of them. The other one is bad defense. This is a team that notoriously has been one of the best defenses in the NBA year after year during the dynasty. And this year they were toiling near the bottom of the NBA in terms of points per game given up, in terms of defensive rating. The good news is both of those figures have actually improved over the last month or so. We're seeing more defensive intensity and more effectiveness from the defensive side. But that has been the two things that are the stories of the year for the Warriors.
What's the playoff rotation look like right now? What are give me the starters, couple of players that are guaranteed to play off the bench. And then is there anybody on the bubble that you think maybe Kerr will lean into playing this guy? Cy Jerome comes to mind.
Yeah, he won't. He's not eligible for the postseason. So the starting 5, I'm going to go under the premise that Andrew Wiggins will play. That has not been announced yet. We do not know if Andrew Wiggins will be ready for Game 1, but I'm going to go on the premise that he will. Steve Kerr did say during a pregame press conference just the other day that Andrew Wiggins will return as a starter. So the starting 5 likely will be what is traditional, and it's highly efficient, the most efficient 5-man group in the NBA based on net rating, and that's Steph and Curry, Klay Thompson as your backcourt, the Splash Brothers, Andrew Wiggins coming back at the small forward position, Draymond Green playing the 4, the power forward, and then Kevon Looney is your starting center. Who we know for sure that we're going to see coming off the bench will be Dante DiVincenzo, who's been a fabulous addition to the team. He kind of replaces Otto Porter Jr. From a year ago in that role, smaller, but maybe a little better defensively. And then Jordan Poole is your 6th man, so we'll definitely see him. And interesting enough, Jordan Poole joined Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson as the first trio in the history of the NBA as a backcourt to average 20 or more points per game. So Jordan Poole did average 20.4 points per game for the season. So you'll see Poole, you'll see DiVincenzo. Jonathan Kuminga has really emerged in his second year as a rotation piece. He was starting games routinely. His size is invaluable. So you will see him as number 8. And then from there, there's question marks. Like, we don't know if we're going to see Moses Moody. I hope we do. He's been playing great ball the last couple weeks. We don't know if we're going to see JaMychal Green. That's a huge maybe just because he's been just completely out of the rotation. But then in the Portland game, a game where Steve Kerr treated very much like a postseason game in terms of rotations, he did not dip into the bench until the very end during garbage time. But we saw JaMychal Green. So I don't know if that was indicative that we're going to see more of him. His height, his size, I feel like is desperately needed. And then Anthony Lamb is another player that we might see, although he did fall out of favor the last couple weeks of the season. And then of course I almost forgot Gary Payton II. We're going to see him a lot as a defensive stalwart, especially in this Kings series, because I picture Gary Payton II playing a lot of defense on De'Aaron Fox. So that will be your rotation. Again, the Warriors defy norms in terms of playoff rotations, where normally coaches don't go that deep. 8 players is the norm on average with postseason rotations. But the Warriors dipped 10, 11, 12. They did that a year ago. The added strength in numbers rings true with this team. And so this year, it's going to be, I'm guessing, 10, maybe 11.
What are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of the Warriors? Basically, how have they won games and how have they lost games in general? And no, you cannot just say when they play at home and when they play on the road.
Oh, well, I was going to say when they play at home.
Yeah,
that's it. So, no, in all honesty, like the two variables, in my opinion, that put the Warriors above most other teams, and maybe all of them, we'll see what happens this year. One is chemistry. They're very selective in terms of who they add to this team. They're not like the Clippers that just sees talent and brings it in and just hopes for the best. They're very picky. They believe strongly in cohesiveness and the whole mantra and concept of a team in a team sport. So their chemistry is incredibly solid. There's a huge reason why they routinely lead the NBA in assists, in cuts. Ball movement is such a strength of this club. So I'll put chemistry there as one of the top variables. And then the other one is not just experience, but world championship experience. That's something you cannot replicate. And it could also, there could be a correlation between that experience and why the team struggled in road games this year, just because every other team was rising up and motivated. Every time the Warriors came to their arena, the Warriors, Draymond Green admitted this just a month ago. He does not get out of bed for games in March anymore. And so when they're playing these road games against like an Orlando Magic team, Detroit Pistons, no offense, but I don't know if the Warriors were really giving it their all in that regard. But that World Championship experience, I think, is so vital when it comes to the postseason. So I think those are two things that are going to be heavily in their favor.
Pistons won 16 games. Offense can be taken over there.
All right.
What are your expectations for this team? I'm really fascinated to hear this. Let's do it from three levels. From the fans, what do fans expect this team to do? What does the team themselves expect to do? And what do you expect the Warriors to do in the postseason?
I think fans and team are both on the same page. They think they're going to repeat. The fans, the last few weeks going to the postseason, especially with Wiggins coming back, especially with a team fully healthy going into the postseason. I mean, for the second year in a row, the timing in that department has been impeccable. And the team has just exuded confidence from day one. Even Steve Kerr has been saying throughout this whole season, despite the Warriors hovering at the 500 mark for almost the entire year, they did finish the season 6 games above 500, 44-38, but they were really toiling for almost the entire year right at that 500 record, mostly because of the road woes. But Steve Kerr kept saying this team, he sees them as a championship club. He thinks they're going to win the title. The players exude similar confidence. And the fans are on board. Me personally, I feel like myself and Stephen A. Smith were the only two people going back almost 2 years ago to the offseason of 2021 who confidently said the Warriors were going to win the title. I felt great about it. I don't feel as great this year. I cannot ignore just how much they struggled on the road. I also can't ignore the fact that this is a very small team. I think if Steve Kerr uses JaMychal Green for 10, 15 minutes a night, giving him that extra size, that would help tremendously. But if Kerr insists on going with small ball lineups and getting out rebounded, getting crushed inside, it makes me pause. I think the path in the Western Conference is set up for them. The 6th seed was exactly where I felt the Warriors needed to fall into, not just because of the Kings and the light travel there, but they have the Grizzlies number. So if they play the Grizzlies in the second round, they've been there and done that. They know how to beat that team. And then if they face the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, you have 2 rounds of experience going into that, where cohesiveness, where timing, where conditioning is where hopefully Wiggins and players like that need to be at for a tough Nuggets series. And I think they could beat the Nuggets. They beat them in the first round a year ago. Granted, it was a very different team. I know they're much deeper now, but they know how to play that team. The NBA Finals, I don't know at this point if the Warriors can beat a Bucks or a Celtics or even a Sixers, man, because Joel Embiid is just a beast. So that's what I'm feeling, man. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say, yeah, Warriors, but I'm not guaranteeing it like I did a year ago.
The Warriors, according to FanDuel, are plus 330 to win the West. You just talked about their path to get out of the West, so that's very high. The only team higher than them right now to win the conference, according to FanDuel, is the Suns, plus 200. To win the NBA Finals, they have Bucks plus 240, Celtics plus 370, Suns plus 460, and then the Warriors plus 750 above the Sixers there. So that's kind of right about where you just said. Giving a little bit, they give a little bit more credit to the Suns, but yeah, that path is kind of laid out for them right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's crazy how much Kevin Durant affects the odds, right? Like wherever he goes, like that team is immediately a title contender because the Nets just dropped off the moment he left. The Suns Clippers, I'm more excited about that series in all honesty in the first round. That is going to be a clash of Titans. And I'm just so happy the Warriors don't have to face Phoenix in the first round, avoiding that. We'll see what happens, man. I'm sorry about your Mavericks, dude. That was just a bummer because the Warriors played them in the Western Conference Finals a year ago. I kept looking at them as a legitimately worthy adversary. And maybe next year we'll have that again. But I'm sorry, man.
Are you prepared for the entire like NBA fandom to root against the Warriors, because everybody's in for the beam team right now?
Well, is that how the nation is? I guess I'm used to it. People are tired of the Warriors winning. I've been used to it for a while now. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm on board. I'm ready.
Go listen to Locked On Warriors with Cyrus Satsis as well as Kylan Mills daily on the Locked On Warriors YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on the Locked On NBA playoff preview.
Thank you so much, Nick.